Well, hey there everyone, I'm Fox 10 News meteorologist Jennifer Lambers. Let me just mute that real quick. Perfect. And so I'm Fox 10 News meteorologist Jennifer Lambers with an update on your forecast and what we are tracking in the tropics. In case you were joining us there at the very tail end of Fox 10 midday, I was talking a little bit more about that latest advisory update from the National Hurricane Center, and it is showing a much stronger hurricane, Rafael. So this is something that we were anticipating, and that's exactly what a hurricane hunter found at this advisory update coming out just at 12 o'clock. It was investigating it for a while, and the National Hurricane Center, right before 12 p.m., they did upgrade Rafael to that major Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds at 115 miles per hour. If you missed that 9 a.m. advisory update, Rafael was even stronger. It was 110 miles per hour. It was barely holding on to that Cat 2 strength. Category 3, it needs to be 111 miles per hour sustained winds and above. And so now it is exceeding that with those sustained winds getting closer towards 115 miles per hour. That pressure dropped just a little bit to 956 millibars, and it is tracking northwest at 14 miles per hour. So this will be hitting Cuba as a major Category 3 hurricane later on today. It will approach closer towards that landfall approach. Again, this brand new advisory update just coming down from the National Hurricane Center at noon. Rafael now joining that list of major hurricanes for the 2024 season. Now, the track for the system still has Rafael moving through Cuba later on today as that major hurricane, but it's going to be pushing through some of that mountainous terrain. After that, it's going to be pushing into the southern Gulf, and then this ridge of high pressure, it is really helping us out. That was going to be the big question as we approach closer towards Wednesday and Thursday, was the steering flow. What in the upper atmosphere is going to help influence this system, either push it unfortunately towards us or push it away from us? And so this ridge of high pressure, it did the right thing for us. It is moving in, it is being strong, and it is helping just to push Rafael further towards the west. Now, one thing that is also helping that is going to be the strengthening that was taking place. These hurricanes, once they become stronger, they become bigger, taller, wider. And so once they become taller, it's helping the upper atmosphere, those upper level winds, begin to influence the system and steer it. So because it is becoming so much stronger, it's helping that ridge of high pressure influence it, push it just a little bit. So the strengthening and that ridge of high pressure is what it is helping us out locally here in the Fox 10 viewing area. In case you're just joining this Facebook Live, you're not from our area, we are located in Mobile, Pensacola, extending down towards Destin and Pascagoula, Mississippi, right along the immediate coastline. So again, that's one thing that was helping steer Rafael away from us. But then after that, once we get closer towards the weekend, you start to notice that we get that big bubble effect taking place in the western Gulf. There are still questions about where Rafael will head after that. The Fox 10 viewing area has been taken out of that cone of uncertainty. The ridge of high pressure, it did its job. It helped push it just away from us. But as we get closer towards the weekend, where is it going to go after that? Is it going to be Louisiana, Texas, Mexico, or some models even just have it fizzling out, meandering in the Gulf waters? But if you notice some of those icons, they're overlapping each other towards the end of that 5-day range. Rafael is expected to really slow down. It's expected to weaken as it travels further towards the west. It's expected to move much slower. And so that's why those timestamps are really overlapping one another. And that's going to be Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So we're looking at 48 hours for Rafael just to be hanging out in the Gulf waters by that point and really moving into harsh conditions. Now here's a look at those spaghetti models. They are consistent. Once we get closer towards Friday, that's where the National Hurricane Center's cone is really tight. It's compact. They're all in agreement for that westerly travel away from us. And then we get beyond that, and we're going to start to notice some of those curving towards the north, some curving towards the southwest, some curving directly towards the south, and then some just meandering. They kind of just disappear there in the center of that cone. That's where some of that uncertainty still lies with Rafael in the long range. But what we do know is that our impacts here it's going to be minimal. We're going to start to see some of those high rip current risks, and also we will start to see some of that moisture begin to lift up here, and so we'll have increased rain chances once we get closer towards the weekend. Now, what is leading to some of those questions that we have with Rafael in the long range? Well, I mentioned that ridge of high pressure. That's helping it as it's a strong system. Once it becomes weaker, then that steering flow becomes a little more difficult. But also I wanted to mention too what's leading to some of that weakening. So we take a look at what's going on in the upper atmosphere. We also have some wind shear out there. Wind shear is something that tropical systems do not like. It's that varying wind speed and direction out there. There's a lot of it located just over the southeast. Is where you start to see some of those brighter colors. Now it's really strong over the mid-south. We're starting to see more of that jet stream effect up there, but we're still seeing a bit of wind shear just located in the Gulf water. So that's going to be leading to that weakening trend. Also, if you've been to our beaches recently, the water temperatures, they're in the lower to mid 70s. So we're really noticing some cooler water temperatures out there. That's helping us out. And then in addition to this, we have a lot of dry air. If you look closer towards Cuba, you can start to see where Rafael, it has that bright blue coloration, just some of that Gulf moisture or some of that moisture in it that's beginning to lift up. But over the Gulf waters, it's dry. And so that's another thing that's really helping us out, helping all the communities out just along the Gulf Coast region, is some of that dry air that's really stopping some of that development. So Rafael is going to be entering into a hostile environment once it does move into the Gulf waters. And so that is why we are going to be noticing that weakening trend once we get closer towards the weekend. Unfortunately for those folks located in Cuba, that is not the case. The conditions were still favorable for some of that rapid intensification to happen before that approached northern once it got closer towards Cuba. So that's why we still saw that rapid intensification take place. Rafael was thriving in that environment, and so that is why it is now that Category 3 hurricane expected to make landfall in Cuba later on for today. The next landfall approach, that is still in question. We do not know where Rafael will make landfall in the U.S., even if it does. Some models have it as that tropical storm strength. Some have it turning into a remnant low, so just bringing in some of that Gulf moisture, but not quite holding on to any of those category strengths anymore, or even that tropical storm strength. So there's still a lot of questions in the long range. We'll continue to monitor and keep you updated here on Fox 10. But for our local headlines here in the Fox 10 viewing area, what are we expecting? Dangerous surf. Regardless of where Rafael goes, we've seen some breezy winds out of the south, so it's already been rough down there. Rafael not helping our local beaches. We will be experiencing more of those high rip current risks, that rough surf down at our beaches. Please stay out of the water. There's no reason to get in there. You can still take a stroll along the water, but do not go swimming out there, as it'll only continue to stay rough for the rest of the week and into the weekend. Now in blue there, we have some beneficial rain heading our way. October, it was dry. We were entering into those drought conditions. It was becoming concerning, especially with folks wanting to get into the bonfire spirit, wanting to burn some things out there. And so we are getting some of this beneficial rain. It's going to help out our drought conditions just a little bit. Those rain chances do increase once we get closer towards the weekend. So if you have those outdoor plans, go ahead, have a backup plan, just because we are looking at wet and soggy conditions with some rounds of rain. But those uncertainties do still remain, mainly in the long range. They're inconsistent with that landfall, not the Cuba landfall, but more of if there is going to be a U.S. landfall after that, especially with Rafael expected to move into the Western Gulf by Saturday and still just meandering in those waters, moving extremely slow, possibly below 5 miles per hour for the next 48 hours after that. So we'll still be tracking Rafael possibly into the early part of next week as it approaches closer towards possibly Texas, Mexico, or even Louisiana. Still a possibility there. Now, in case you are joining us, I did go ahead and want to talk about our local forecast too, in case you do have anything going on for the rest of today. It's wet, it is soggy out there to begin for this morning, and we are only continuing to track more of those rain chances heading into the rest of today. If you have anything going on for your Wednesday, if you have that evening commute, if you pick up your kids in car line, you will need those rain jackets and umbrellas, especially for those of you in Mobile and Baldwin counties, really showing some increased rain chances with some of that moderate rainfall closer towards 2 to even 5 p.m. I've been seeing a few isolated lightning strikes out there. Sports practices or games heading into tonight. Just make sure you stay updated with Jason. You can always download our Fox 10 weather app to have that radar and futurecast right there in the palm of your hand. and will turn a bit more isolated heading into the rest of this evening. Temperatures today still going to be in the upper 70s and the lower 80s, despite some of that cloud cover and the increased rain chances. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back to Rafael just for anyone that is joining us at this time. Again, that brand new advisory update coming out from the National Hurricane Center. It did have Rafael becoming that major Category 3 hurricane. At that 12 p.m. advisory update, a hurricane hunter went in and investigated, found that those wind speeds had gotten up to 115 miles per hour. It is now joining that list for a major Category 3 hurricane for the year of 2024, just adding to those major storms that we've seen so far. Just be thinking of the folks in Cuba, as they will be impacted heavily by the system as it makes landfall later on for today, as that major hurricane tracking northwest at 14 miles per hour. And again, this system, it is expected to move into the southern Gulf waters by really heading into tomorrow before tracking west. The Foxton viewing area has been taken out of that cone, and still some uncertainty in the long range, so be cautious what you see on social media. After that, no one knows where Rafael is going to be heading as far as those landfall approaches, the strength, the intensity, or the location, even the date of that, because this takes us out 5 days, and it enters into the western Gulf on Saturday and stays that way until we get closer towards Monday. So Rafael expected to weaken heading into the weekend, and also expected to really slow down by that point. Also, so can I cut my grass this weekend? I just got that question from Henry. You can just help time it out. Again, if you download the Foxton Weather app, you can have that radar there. Even then, I don't know where you're located, if you've been seeing some of those showers, the grass, the soil may be a little too saturated by this point to continue to do some of that. It really just depends on your yard if you've seen some of that rain so far. Just because we are still going to be experiencing more of those showers heading into this weekend. I'll show you guys the 7-day outlook here really quickly. As always, if you have any questions for me, you are more than welcome to ask those. I am monitoring the Facebook Live here, so I can see any of those questions that you may have for us. It's slowly loading up for you there, Henry. Okay, here's a look at the full 7-day outlook, and really we start to see those higher rain chances for today. They drop down Thursday, they drop down even more closer towards Friday, but then they go back up closer towards Saturday and Sunday. So unfortunately, with that 50 to 60% chance of showers, it's not looking like the best conditions to get out there and mow your lawn. It's really dependent upon where you're located at this time. If you've seen some of that rain for the past few days, I live in Baldwin County. We've been seeing quite a bit of rain for the past few days. We've been getting the majority of that. Meanwhile, some of our inland spots, they've been staying pretty dry. Portions of Mobile County also staying dry with some of those rain showers. So just dependent upon your location. But even then, weekend plans looking like a wet and soggy weekend is ahead of us. As mentioned, it is beneficial. The good news is that in long range, it is looking like we can dry out heading into next week. But for any of those of you that are rooting for some of those fall conditions, the fall-like temperatures, not seeing them just yet. Reminder, we should be in the lower 70s this time of year. Our morning temperatures should be closer towards 50 degrees. Instead, we're running 20 to even 22 degrees above that. It is mild in the mornings. It's muggy out there. We're noticing some of that humidity and those warmer temperatures. So no sign of fall weather just yet. We're rooting for the rain by this point to help us knock us out of some of those drought conditions. But unfortunately, we're not looking to really see any of the cooler temperatures just yet. Alyssa asked, do you think we will have an impact in Mobile? The only impact that we are going to be seeing here locally for all of the Foxton viewing area, again, that's Mobile, Pensacola, down towards Destin, our Mississippi counties, down towards Pascagoula, right along the immediate coastline, is going to be at our local beaches, the high rip current risk, and then rain. That's really the only thing that we are going to be seeing from Rafael. That area of high pressure, it's helping to push it away from us, so we will not be seeing any direct impacts from Rafael. We will be seeing indirect impacts. That's just going to be increased rain and also some of those rip current risks, so please stay out of the water at our local beaches. It's only going to stay rough through the weekend and heading into next week. I'm going to continue just to monitor some of those comments that you guys may have in case you joined us late or in case you think of anything by the time that this does wrap up. As always, you're more than welcome to message or email any of the meteorologists here at Fox 10. We'd love to answer any of those questions that you may have. We'll continue to keep you updated with an additional update on Rafael at that 3 p.m. advisory update. I will have that on Fox 10 Live coming up at 3 p.m. And Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith will keep you updated later on this evening on Fox 10 News at 4, 5, 9, and 10 p.m. Wishing everyone a wonderful Wednesday, but we will continue to track Rafael and keep you updated right here on Fox 10. Again, Rafael, that major Category 3 hurricane at this last check from the National Hurricane Center. We'll have more details, especially on that landfall approach closer towards Cuba, heading further on into the rest of this evening.